So for those of you who have been watching the channel for quite a minute now, you guys would probably know that not only is the Batman movie by Matt Reeves one of my all-time favorite movies, but it actually happens to be my favorite Batman movie. And yes, I know The Dark Knight is probably superior and whatnot, but something about the Batman just absolutely resonated with me. I had a lot of great memories when I saw it. I actually ended up getting surgery to fix my deviated septum like 8 hours or so after I saw it. I saw it at midnight, and then I went and got surgery at like 6 o'clock in the morning, something absolutely crazy. And I think I had my nose reconstructed by 9. Again, it was a very, very good day, and a lot of news has really come out about the sequel since that. Not only would we be getting it, but a recent report did suggest that the Batman Part 2 is reportedly set to begin filming starting next year in March 2024. Again, that's been reported by a lot of different reports, and one of the big ones, which I've talked about on this channel previously as well, is that we obviously know Clayface will be one of the villains of the Batman Part 2. We don't actually know if he will be the main villain or if he will be a side villain or like the second villain, kind of very similar to how the Penguin was in the Batman. I think that's kind of the role I expect him to. And obviously a report that hasn't necessarily been as confirmed as Clayface being in the Batman Part 2, but a report also did say that Joel Edgerton would be in consideration and top of the favorites really to actually be playing Two-Face in the Batman Part 2. Again, that's really awesome. I've gone on a lot of theories on how I think Matt Reeves is ultimately setting up a ton of villains, whether it's in the movies or of course now in the side TV shows that we know are being in development, which consists of the Penguin and an Arkham style TV show. I genuinely believe they're building up all of these characters just so when the Batman Part 3 comes around, we might get to see the first ever Arkham Asylum kind of jailbreak in movies, which is kind of crazy that in 2023 we've never seen it other than, you know, in the cartoons and all of that type of stuff. But what the main point of this video is today is to actually talk about the recent confirmation that Dick Grayson will reportedly appear in the Batman Part 2. According to insider MTTSH, Dick Grayson, the first Robin, will reportedly make an appearance in Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2. There was also, I believe, a quote from Robert Pattinson, which I'm not exactly too sure is real. I did see a lot of people talking about it about a couple of days ago, but that it was reporting that Robert Pattinson actually said he will have to be around the age of 13 or more in those teenage years just to have it a lot more comic book accurate. And I think that honestly makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, they could legitimately go with hiring a 13-year-old or so to maybe do this, or again, there are tons of actors out there who are probably, you know, 18, 17 who still look young enough to play a 14, 15-year-old, which movies have definitely tend to do in the past. So I'm wondering if they might go down that direction. But again, this is really interesting news to me because I honestly didn't see this really coming at all. In fact, I kind of put this directly to the back of my mind when thinking about potential characters who could be in the Batman Part 2. The main reason I did this is because I thought they were going to have this universe was going to be a lot darker, like it seemed like the tone of the first Batman movie would of course be. But not just that, I honestly thought they wouldn't be including a Robin in this movie, just based on the fact that we're getting a new Brave and the Bold adaptation in live action, of course being the first Batman movie in James Gunn's new DCU, where the main part of Batman the Brave and the Bold is really not only having a somewhat more experienced Batman being around the ages of about 35 years old, I believe, but this Batman actually having a teenage son that he didn't necessarily really know about in Damian, who he actually turns into being a Robin. And that's what that movie is essentially going to be about. It is being said that it will focus on the Bat family. So I can imagine that he's probably had a previous Robin before Damian, who has turned into Nightwing, I would assume is where they're probably going to be going about that. So again, not only will Damian Wayne be in it, but I'm assuming Nightwing will possibly be in it. I also think Batgirl could potentially be in it, or teased, especially considering they were absolutely huge on cancelling that Batgirl movie that was reportedly already finished filming and everything. They spent $90 million on it. We know that ended up getting cancelled for the DCAU, and again, the DCAU, literally the whole entire franchise has been cancelled, and again, in favour of this new DC universe being set up by James Gunn. But again, I just thought this was kind of weird. I genuinely thought that the way James Gunn would have been going about this is he would have told I think Matt Reeves to possibly not have a Batman in those movies. I thought it would have been pretty clear on that we most likely would have had the Bat family and whatnot really kind of heavily in The Brave and the Bold. And this makes me think, well, if we're going to have a young Dick Grayson in this new Batman Part 2, will he eventually turn into Nightwing, or how's that going to go? Because I would have thought Nightwing would have been exclusively kept for most likely the new Brave and the Bold movie. I thought the Brave and the Bold movie would be a very heavy, I think, kind of setting on not only Bruce Wayne, but of course Damian Wayne, and then we'd probably learn more about the previous Robin or Robins before Damian Wayne, one of them of course becoming Nightwing, most likely Dick Grayson. So again, if we're going to have a Dick Grayson in this Batman Part 2 and a Dick Grayson who's now Nightwing in The Brave and the Bold, especially considering these movies will probably come out at very similar times. I think Brave and the Bold will probably be 2026, 2027. This Batman Part 2 will be 2025. Will that not potentially confuse the audience and the crowds that are maybe thinking, well, the Batman Part 2, which comes out 2 years before Brave and the Bold, you got that Dick Grayson in there as Robin, and then they go and see Brave and the Bold in 2 years. A lot of people, I think, will probably think that Dick Grayson has grown up into this Nightwing. So, I don't know. I'm on board for the idea because I just know, obviously, myself and a lot of other comic book, DC, Batman fans out there will definitely be able to understand this Matt Reeves and James Gunn direction with the DCU and the Elseworlds projects. But I can only just think of my own mother watching both of these movies and just being a little bit confused. Again, of course, I'm going to be able to give her a brief 1-minute conversation on what's happening, but will that necessarily go through to her head? I'm not too sure. You know what? I'll have to ask her after this recording. But I think you guys get where I'm going with this, that there's going to be a lot of people out there potentially confused, especially those who are not Batman fans, who are not up to date with what James Gunn's plans are, who are not up to date with Matt Reeves' plans to have this Batman be in his own universe, this own Elseworlds project. Again, I think there could be some confusion, but you know what? I'm still really excited about this. It's been like, 25 to 30 years. It could even be longer. I can't even remember when Batman and Robin and Batman Beyond came out. I think mid-90s they were released. Again, it's been about 30 years pretty much since we've last seen Robin actually in like live action form, I believe, in a movie. Like, we got to see his suit be kind of vandalized in Batman vs Superman, but that was the closest, and I think just shows a bit of the nightmare that some of Zack Snyder's movies really were. Again, I'm much more excited for this Elseworlds project by Matt Reeves, and of course this new DCU by James Gunn. I think it's going to be really interesting. I would very much like to hear all of your guys' thoughts down below. Are you guys excited to potentially see Robin back on the big screen? Do you guys think Matt Reeves is going to be able to do a really good job with this? And of course James Gunn's, adaptation with the Brave and the Bold movie. How do you guys think this is all going to go? Again, I definitely would really like to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my sports channel, MIRL/Long Challenge. Check out my podcast out below as well, which will be linked in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.